Welcome to Planit Butter, my world, where I hopefully inspire you to build yours by being Intu-centric. I'm Jordan Alexandra of Blizzard Planet. This is from my planet to yours. Each week we explore new ways of applying Planit Butter's Intu-centric way to Earth's current society, with a dash of guest episodes where we visit other worlds. Every episode is designed to provoke consciousness through entertaining perspectives and applied philosophy. The philosophy on Planit Butter is Intu-centric-ism. Say it with me. Intu-centric-ism. Intu-centric-ism. You'll catch on quick. Thanks for joining me in episode 106, where we will be answering a viewer's question on the topic of facing hard truths when being Intu-centric. I really appreciated this one, and I'm very excited to get into it. As always, email me any questions you have about your world or Planit Butter's life approach. myplanettoyours@gmail.com. myplanettoyours@gmail.com. Now, a quick little note before we get into this. One, thank you to the viewer for submitting your question. I really appreciate it. So you guys, please feel free to email me. It really makes me so excited, and I love being able to share my insights and thoughts with you on your experiences, because it makes it that much more relatable for everybody. So that wasn't even the note. The note is, it is the 1-year anniversary since changing the name of the podcast from Self-Friendship Podcast to From My Planet to Yours. I guess I remember the day I was doing breath play on my villa floor in Bali, and something just came over me, and it was like, because I was always signing off the episode saying From My Planet to Yours. It's kind of a tagline in all my stuff. And then it just kind of hit me, because for so long I found myself explaining Self-Friendship Podcast as like, it's not what you think, and it's not limited to what you think. Like, it's so much more than the way it sounds. Because as Planit Butter evolved, From My Planet to Yours, it just made sense. It just clicked, and I was like, ah! And then I changed everything. I rebranded in one day. She's a machine. Yeah, that was pretty wild. And it's because self-friendship is one of the core concepts of being Intu-centric, of the larger philosophy of Intu-centricism. Self-friendship is just one of the core concepts, but it's the one that we started this whole world with. So that became the name of the podcast. And then obviously, with enough time and enough new concepts, it got the boot from the name, and now it exists as an ever-present root and fundamental concept for being Intu-centric. And From My Planet to Yours has created this much larger ability to evolve and adapt and relate to other worlds and explore the larger I don't even know, the multi dimensions that Planit Butter is. And so cool. So happy 1-year name-iversary to From My Planet to Yours. Now let me get into this viewer's note. This person wrote in, "Hi Jordan, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to ask you, I'm feeling into a lot of grief and following my gut a lot, like you talk about. It hurts a lot to follow it because it's giving me a lot of hard truths. I wanted to ask, when you're feeling the gut pull you, how do you navigate all the tough feelings that follow in the moment? Take care, friend." Thank you again for writing in. All right, guys. So the way I want to answer this is by reading a bunch of excerpts from Planit Butter's latest book, Intu-centric: Becoming a New Breed of Human Potential. So I went through the book and flagged a bunch of parts that I felt would hopefully resonate the most for responding to this question, and also remind you guys of this tangible piece of art that you can have at your fingertips literally for these types of things. Obviously, I appreciate the emails, but I want you to be able to wake up in the middle of the night with your anxiety and turn to this book and be like, damn, that's the reminder I needed. Because Intu-centric, this book is full of playful yet blunt reminders and timeless, applicable perspectives to your evolution, your Intu-centric way. So off we go. What I think is really cute, I flagged the pages with little puzzle pieces from this puzzle at this current stay. We're in Delray Beach, Florida. Still Florida, guys. Crazy. Uni is up to something. All right. So I will tell you the chapter name and then I will read you the excerpt and we'll flow through. It'd be fun if you guys could ask me questions as we were going through this, but we'll save that for some other time. All right. This chapter is simply called 3 Core Methods. And let me remind you guys of the focus of the question. It hurts a lot to follow his gut because it's giving a lot of hard truths. So the question is, when you're feeling the gut pull you, how do you navigate all of the tough feelings that follow? Okay, now these are my array of answers. So the chapter, 3 Core Methods. If we entirely view our individual timeline as a reflection of our boundaries, we might choose to make more decisions which leverage that time to propel us into who we want to be, how we want to be, and where we want to be. Respected boundaries become confidence, which sustains or reconnects our alignment. Our 3 core methods. Now, a few key notes about the multi-dimensions of boundaries. Boundaries equals presence, your world. Boundaries equals priorities. Boundaries equals love. Sometimes we're challenged to set boundaries we don't want to have to set. Sometimes, I might even say often, respecting our boundaries is not the easiest feat. Being Intu-centric is a healthy challenge. We can understand, empathize, and intellectualize somebody else's perspective and experience while preserving our boundaries. It's emotional intelligence and self-preservation. Sometimes other people won't agree nor understand our boundaries. If we compromise our boundaries out of empathy for someone else, or even more complex, ourselves, it becomes self-abandonment. Sometimes respecting our boundaries might initially appear or feel inconvenient. Inconveniencing ourselves in the spirit of our own best interest is not an inconvenience at all. Best we don't limit ourselves to our preconceived idea of convenience. Sometimes we discover our need for a boundary through interactions, trial and boundary. Sometimes in response to what we know our boundaries need to be, our conditioned mind says, but I don't want to do that. And then our Intu-centric self replies, but something so much cooler will happen when we do it. And then we choose to say, okay, let's boogie. So now we can pause here for a second in relation to hard truths and listening to your gut. Leading with your intuition, listening to your gut, same, is essentially, through the lens of being Intu-centric, that is an act of clarifying and respecting your boundaries. When you listen to your gut, you are respecting your alignment. So the 3 core methods, boundaries, confidence, alignment. So if your boundaries are a reflection of you taking action on your intuition, then everything that I just read applies to the varying contexts of the multi-dimensions of boundaries and the different contexts that you can apply whatever your hard truths are, and ground in knowing that this is in your best interest. the knowing that it's in your best interest dilutes the challenging feelings of the hard truth, because you're allowing more fun, more lightness, more excitement into your energy, like your physical and non-physical space of your existence, by solidifying this boundary, by listening to your intuition, even while receiving these hard truths. The hard truths are inevitable. That's why on Planit Butter we say it's not easy, but we can choose to make it fun. So I'll cap that and move on to the next section. But so you got that. We're grounded in these multi-dimensions of our boundaries, and that our boundaries are effectively clarifying and respecting our intuition. And when it comes to hard truths, we difficultly ground in that we know this is in our best interest, so we can then be excited because better things can come into our life because of this hard truth when we transcend it, which brings us to our next bit. So, where's my next puzzle piece? I love that I put puzzle pieces here. Okay, perfect. Next section. This chapter is titled Holding Space to Connect with Others, Lovingly Merciless. While space is sometimes perceived as a void by society, on Planit Butter, holding space is a boundary. We are protecting this space for connecting with others. The space we hold is context-based and boundary-oriented. Our existence is a reflection of our boundaries. With all of your love, your strength, mentally, emotionally, physically, and intuitively, prioritize intuition, self-control, and self-expression. Intu-centric, no matter fucking what. How do we be lovingly merciless with ourselves? We practice presitude. The only way forward is presence. When we meet our boundaries with presitude, we make being lovingly merciless fun. Fun fuels our ability to achieve the third layer of holding space to connect with others, which is to actively hold the space for our desired connections. That is, investing more of ourselves in our current connections aligned with the boundaries we've clarified, and or sustaining the space for the connections we are investing ourselves toward and do not have yet. Handle with care. Now, to summarize that one, hopefully there's little gems that are just resonating with you, and whatever doesn't resonate with you, throw it away, as my friend Christina Hutchinson would say. So, to sum this one up, when facing hard truths, presence. Presitude is defined as the state of being present through thankfulness. So when we face these hard truths, we ground in understanding our boundaries lead us to better things in our evolution for us. And we guide ourselves through these hard truths, through these challenging times, with presence and gratitude simultaneously. So we become more present because we are practicing gratitude. It can be literally anything entirely unrelated to your challenging context. Just cultivate it. I'm grateful to be sitting in this floating chair that kind of wiggles around. It's really relaxing. I'm grateful to have this big giant pillow on my lap because it's keeping me warm and feel cozy. I'm grateful to have these beautiful sunflowers next to me so I can stare at them and kiss them when I walk by. I'm grateful to have the sunlight shining on my hands. Like, it could be literally anything, and it increases your mood, your energy, all of the things just feel more enhanced because of this practice of gratitude in every moment, and it cultivates more presence. And when you balance those two things, the hard truths become a little bit more quiet and a little bit more quiet in a way that you've acknowledged them, you've received them, and you're allowing them to metabolize by channeling your focus on the things that bring you into the present moment so that you can cultivate a stronger sense of confidence in yourself, having respected your boundaries so that you can sustain or reconnect with your alignment. Our 3 core methods. Next section. This one is called Inspiration is Our Through Line. When we're inspired, we're more inclined to be motivated. When we're motivated, we're already inspired. When we stay in a critical thinking mind, we stay inspired. Inspiration can be from any type of experience, though society often expresses it as a result of something already perceivably empowering or admirable. It doesn't need to be. That's where our critical thinking mind comes in. Critical thinking is fuel for motivation. It's the decision to be aware and reflective, aware of our options, attitude, perspective, thinking, and showing up for what excites us or creating excitement where it doesn't initially exist. I'm going to stop there. Hard truths. Inspiration. Here's how. Within our inherent emotional reaction to anything we experience, we can choose to perspective dance our response to be an inspired one. Inspiration is Intu-centric through line and the seed for action. Our emotional reactions fuel our inspiration. Our inspiration fuels our actions, and our actions dictate our communication with the universe. So take those hard truths and perspective dance them into being inspiration. And we do that by effectively perspective dancing, which is a whole other chapter that, you guys experience the perspective dancing on a regular basis with the show. So I'm not going to dig into that chapter. But essentially, perspective dancing is nurturing facts, phrases, ideas, and situations with playfulness, relentless optimism, and empowerment. And in the book, I break down types of perspective dancing. So I break down how to perspective dance with facts, how to perspective dance with phrases, ideas, and situations. All of those. So with hard truths, bring it into inspiration, grounding it in your presitude, and remembering that it's in your best interest because you have respected your boundaries. Hard truths is like the biggest signal that you are totally on the right track. And I feel like there's nothing more empowering than knowing I'm on the right track. And, well, there's more. Stick with me. I'll keep showing you how. All right. So next section. Where's my next puzzle piece? Oh, yes. Oscillation. Oscillation on Planit Butter is wavering between who we've been and who we want to be. I imagine that during a hard truth, when being Intu-centric, I imagine that this will inevitably involve wavering between who you've been and who you want to be, because the hard truths are typically hard to digest, to metabolize, to work through, which is why we're doing all of these things that I just lovingly shared with you. So to call it what it is, which is likely a form of oscillation, or if it's not a form of oscillation, then the downstream of the hard truth is going to be oscillation. That I can guarantee, because I don't know the context, but I can guarantee that the downstream effects of a hard truth will include oscillation, wavering between who you've been and who you want to be. So take a deep breath. I know that sounds intense. It is. Being Intu-centric, remember, is a healthy challenge. The key to transcending the mental obstacle course of oscillation is presitude, which we just visited, and gratisfaction. Gratisfaction is fulfilled through thankfulness. Presitude is the state of being present through thankfulness, while gratisfaction is fulfilled through thankfulness. So it's presence and fulfillment through gratitude, essentially, when working together. When presitude and gratisfaction is embodied, our vibration naturally increases, which means our mood increases, as we just touched on. And as a result, we're more connected to the version of ourselves we want to be and more equipped to self-reflect and self-connect with the version of ourselves that's momentarily showing up. So I'll pause there to acknowledge that when oscillating with these hard truths, when perspective dancing things into inspiration, when holding space to connect with others, when doing all of these things that we've just touched on, this self-talk is essentially between who we've been and who we want to be, which is also while oscillation is the embodiment of it. So the self-talk in this context, to access the type of self-talk that we need to have to evolve through these moments of oscillation, is needing to access the version of ourselves we want to be, so that person can talk to the person currently showing up in the wavering, the oscillation, the who we've been and who we want to be. So the person who we want to be needs to talk to who we've been. And to do that, we practice presitude and gratisfaction. You see, we cultivate all these things. We turn it into inspiration, and we channel that version of ourselves through this grounding of, I know this is in my best interest. I am so grateful for XYZ, which allows me to be present, and then talk to the version of you that is showing up that you no longer want to show up. And that conversation is private between you and yourself. I can't really give advice on that, but you know, that's the thing with Planit Butter. I will always remind you, you know. It's your choice. It's your personal responsibility. It's your willingness to do more, do less, and pivot what's within your control. You are within your control. So, onwards. I'll say one last little sentence in this section. When we embrace the obstacle course as our Intu-centric selves, we will choose to make it fun, ultimately locking in the next version of who we believe ourselves to be. Questions for consideration as we self-reflect and self-connect through our most confronting oscillations. Is this a mirror of who I want to be or who I've been? How would I respond to this if I were already the person I want to be? We start with awareness, we shift through oscillation, then we lock it in, we energetically upgrade. You will feel it. All right, next section, kids. Gentlemen, forgive me. You're not kids. All right, so this section is titled, Are You Willing to Upgrade? And here's the snippet. When you inevitably face challenges as your Intu-centric self, you continue to ask, will I commit to my own best interest? Or will I go with the familiar? And you commit through poise, emotional regulation, detachment, responsibility, trust, and indifference. Poise is under-acknowledged and rare in existence. The prerequisites for poise are emotional regulation and detachment. Similarly to perspective dancing, we first emotionally regulate, feel whatever we need to feel. Then we take that Planit Butter step objective, up and out of society, detach emotionally, mentally, physically to the best of our ability. Then we can self-reflect and self-connect to clarify our standards and therefore our boundaries. Consider asking yourself, what is the context of this invitation to upgrade? What would my familiar response to this context be? What would be the familiar outcome? What would I like the outcome to be? To achieve that outcome or better, what might my boundaries need to be? Does this situation cross those boundaries? Sometimes it's difficult to stick to a boundary despite our high standards because we're humans with feelings. That's where hard truths turns into oscillation. The feelings get involved, the familiarities creep in, and we need to ground into knowing that our boundaries are in our best interest, ground into flipping it into inspiration so that we can effectively practice precitude and gratisfaction and move forward in our evolution. We don't want to regress. And sometimes if you do, that's okay. Not want to, but sometimes we have to because we're not ready yet, which is a whole other section I talk about. Ready is as boundaries are. So hopefully those bunch of questions I just read offer you some beautiful starting points for reflection in terms of your hard truths and the reality, if you so choose it to be, that this is your invitation to upgrade. It's always an invitation to upgrade. Always. Always, always, always. All right. Bing, bang, boom. When reinforcing a challenging boundary in our willingness to upgrade, we will inevitably oscillate, there it is, between who we've been and who we want to be. We can welcome this wavering and perspective dance it to be affirming our clarity. This strengthens our confidence to continue to commit to even the tiniest of actions that respect our boundaries and embody our willingness to upgrade. The more actions we commit to, no matter how small, the more we fuel our confidence and solidify our unwavering standards. Our actions demonstrate to ourselves and to the universe the version of ourselves we want to focus. And again, there's a lot more here, but I'm going to leave you with these magical doses of magic. All right. Next. Damn, this book is so good. I'm really excited to be able to share it with you guys in this way. It's so pretty. Look at the sun on it. Can you guys see? Fuck. It's so pretty. Oh, she did great. All right. Next. This section is called The Only Medicine That Is Contagious. All right. So, while fun is Planit Butter's stabilizer, there is no fun without laughter, nor laughter without fun. Consider that there's a laughing spectrum, as with anything. We express variations of our laughter depending on the context. Even nervous or fearful laughter means fun is present to some degree, even if it's an absolutely terrifying situation. It's a way of incorporating fun in the given moment to subside the nerves or fear. It's an act of subconscious perspective dancing. Sometimes we have internal circumstances inviting us to create fun where it might not be commonly present, particularly during our moments of oscillation, wavering between who we've been and who we want to be. It's emotional regulation complemented by a good time. As we hold space, remember, for ourselves to experience any unpleasant feelings or experiences, the skill is to have a strong enough self-friendship. Remember, guys, embracing, understanding, and enjoying ourselves so that you know what you consider to be fun and prioritize incorporating it into your current circumstance. Think you don't know? Yes, you do. Self-reflect, self-connect. You guys with me? Inspiration. I'm not even going to be able to remember everything I just said. You guys are with me. Next. As we learn what fun means to us and bring it into the most challenging of times, we create impressive changes in our inner and external world. Fun triggers a presence and openness in our mind and body, replacing what does not serve us with the invitation for what does. Our mind becomes stronger, we feel safer in our own body, and we feel more connected to those around us. Through the fun of self-friendship, we begin replacing whatever conditioning we've been exposed to with safety, security, and inherent love for ourselves. Go team. All right, let's wrap this up. I think there's one more section I flagged. And if not, we'll end on go team, which is kind of That would check out. Actually, yeah. All right. We did it. I really hope that you found this helpful. I really appreciate you writing in. Again, everyone, please write to me, myplanettoyours@gmail.com. And if you liked what we read today and you want more of it, check out Intu-centric. Order it on planetbutter.com. Ebook, paperback, hardcover, and the audiobook will be out so soon. Remember, my lovely voice acting self recorded it in Miami not too long ago. It's being edited as we speak, and I'm very fucking excited. All right. Check it out, planetbutter.com. Thanks for joining us in episode 106. From my planet to yours. I'll see you Thursday. Yay, my puzzle pieces. Okay. Now we need to stop the recording, but I don't want to get up yet. And I want to take a picture. Look how pretty this looks.